Morning everybody. Sorry I look slightly late because I was trying to get my tripod in a good position so that you could see what I'm going to be doing in a minute. Good girl, that was nice. Good. So I'll just see if anyone comes live. Hope you're all doing all right. It's Friday, nearly the weekend. But that seems a bit weird, the weekend now. Not that much different to the rest of the week, I suppose. Although we've been quite busy, haven't we? We've been quite busy this week. We have done a few classes, done a few virtual classes this week. So we did 2 agility classes on Saturday, last Saturday, and we did a children's trick class on Tuesday afternoon, which was fun, virtually, obviously. And last night we did a virtual puppy class, which was really nice. 4 puppies, all from different parts of the country, so that was good. Seemed to go well. So we've been quite busy. We've been doing lots of videoing and editing, so we're just about to release another online course, aren't we, where you're starring in it. So what I thought we'd do today, after my live on Wednesday evening where we talked about settling at home, I was just going to show you a little bit of what I've been doing with Ruby Roo. And it's actually interesting, I should have had the video running earlier because she did her classic come back from a walk and go crazy mode. And so she has just been in her pen with a Kong and she's come out a little bit more settled. But I'm going to show you what we've been doing with her mat work. Because, I mean, mat work is great for lots of different things, but it's good for relaxation. It's good for being able to condition your dog to be somewhere you want them to be. So one of the things I'm working on, so with her, I'm working on using mat training to help with relaxation and settling, but I'm also using it because she is, she counter surfs and gets into trouble when we're not keeping like 4 eyes on her. So I want to get her used to being able to go on a mat and stay there and relax while other stuff is going on. So when you start doing mat training, as I mentioned on, I need to be a little bit careful with her when I get the mat out because she knows it now, it is a cue to her. What I spoke about on Wednesday is that mat training is different to place training. So place training that we do in like kind of obedience and a little bit in agility actually, is being able to send your dog to somewhere and they get on the place and they stay there. But they usually stay there in a kind of, I'm waiting, anticipatory situation. So they're anticipating something to happen. So you send them to a place and then they're waiting for the next instruction. Whereas relaxation mat training is more about them going, the mat cues settle. It's a settle position. So when you first start with the mat, so I'll try and show you how I would introduce it to start with. She's got to the stage now where the mat comes out. It's a cue immediately for her to get on it and most of the time lie down. But I'll show you what I would do to start with and I'll just talk about it. So when you first introduce, with relaxation, you want a nice comfy mat. So you could use their bed, but it depends on whether you want to take this on the road. Because the other thing I want to do is, eventually when we get let out and we can go to the pub, is take this to the pub so that cues her to go on the mat and settle. So I like to use, so this is a bit of vet bed and it's quite easy to then carry around with you. But you could use their bed if you wanted to, but this is what I prefer to do this. So the first thing you do when so you want something nice and cozy and soft, is what I'm saying, for relaxation training, not like a hard mat like a yoga mat or something like that. So the first thing you want to do is so I'm going to shape this. So we've talked about shaping a lot, and if you're new to the group, there's a session on shaping in the units under general training. So shaping is basically waiting for the dog to offer the behaviour and marking and rewarding tiny little steps towards what you want them to do, basically. So what I did with Ruby to start with is I would just put the mat down, and any interaction with the mat I'm going to mark and reward. So I'm going to try and do that this morning, but the likelihood is she's just going to go on it and sit and go down. But I'll just try and sort of show you how I would start. So that's what you want to try and do to start with, and you want value to be in the mat. Come here. So all the treats, all the rewards come on the mat, not off the mat. So I will release her off the mat, but I'm not going to release her with any food. I'm just going to use my body language to get her to move off and then go back on again. And I'm not using a cue or anything at the moment. The mat is the cue in itself. This mat coming out is a cue for her to get on it and lie down. And that's the stage that we're at with her. What I'm working on now is that she relaxes on the mat, because she'll go on the mat and lie down, but she does like this sort of like boom, like anticipating something. So I need to get her more more relaxed on the mat, and that's what we're working on. So I'll just do a quick little demo now of how I would start it. So we're going to get the mat out. So you might not see me, but you'll see her, and that's the main thing. We're going to get up above. So as soon as you put the mat down, you're going to mark and reward any interaction. I'm going to use a clicker, but you could use a verbal marker. Are we ready? Yes. So, and you feed them on the mat. So feed the mat. The mat is where the rewards come, not from my hand, not from into her mouth directly. It's on the mat. I'm going to cue her to come off, okay? And then I'm just going to see whether she can go back on. Here you go. Yeah. So as you can see, she's already goes into a bit of a down now. Again, I'm going to feed the mat, and you want to feed, don't be stingy with this exercise. Just a few treats on the mat. So the value is being on the mat. Okay. And releasing is really important. Okay? Just explain in a minute. Because you want to be able to cue them to come off. You don't want them coming off on their own. Right? So it is a bit similar to place training, where you want them to stay on that place until you release them, but what I'm also wanting from her is a bit of relaxation. So this is how I've started. You won't get it down like this straight away. It's taken a few sessions to get this. You might just get them putting a couple of paws on. Ideally you want all 4 paws on before you mark. Try not to lure it, but if your dog is struggling, you could lure it. And what I'm doing with her now is just asking for a bit more duration. So I'm just feeding her on the mat. And you can see the position she's in at the moment is not a relaxed position. I might see if she just flops that bum over in a minute. She has got a habit of pawing. It has flopped a bit, so I'm going to reward that. Good girl. Okay. Oh. Good girl. Good girl. So, like I say, step 1 is marking, rewarding any interaction with the mat. From there, you might want to encourage them to sit, or wait a couple of seconds just to see if they'll offer you a sit on the mat. It depends on how familiar you are with shaping. If you're not that familiar, then you can ask for a down or a sit. I prefer not to, because I want the mat to be a cue for the whole behaviour, rather than having to ask for a sit, ask for a down, and then having to fade that out. So I prefer her, good girl, nice. So if you saw there, well, you should be able to see because the bum is facing your way. She went into relaxed. That's more of a relaxed down. So she went into that herself. So I'm marking and rewarding now any more sort of relaxation poses. So this is where we are with her. Is I want her to be more in that relaxed, settled kind of position, rather than in what we call a sphinx down. And building on duration with her being on here. So, and I said, going back to the release, I want her to be able to stay there until I cue her to come off. And what I'm going to start building into this is me being able to move around. And I have done a little bit of that, so we'll just see how she is with that. Now, I don't want her to move. I don't want my movement to cue her to get up. I want her to be able to stay in that position while I'm moving. Good girl. Good girl. And what I would do to start with, because I'm not going to do it with her because I want to progress on this, when you're first starting, I would release them, get them back on the mat, release them, get them back on the mat. So you're building up value of coming onto the mat. With her, what I'm doing, she's at the stage where she can go on the mat, she knows the mat's there, she goes on the mat, lies down. I'm working on her relaxation poses, postures, is what I'm marking and rewarding. So you can see she's looking. I'm going to mark and reward that actually, because she just put her head down. Because she is looking at my clicker, because she knows the clicker means treats. So I'm just going to hide this behind me a little bit, just see if she can relax a little bit more. And I may not use the clicker actually for for her relaxation poses, because the clicker kind of gets a bit of a reaction. So I may just reward her with food. Good girl. Nice. So I tend to do this exercise twice a day. I'll do it in the morning after her morning walk, and then I'll do it, she has a bit of a witching hour, a bit like a puppy. She still is a puppy, really. Around about 6 o'clock in the evening. It's usually after she's had a dinner. She goes into sort of devil dog mode. So I do a bit of this with her. So I spoke in my puppy class yesterday evening, and a lot of the puppy owners, I'm sure any of the puppy owners or young dog owners in the group will be finding this, that because we're at home all the time and the dogs are overstimulated and probably not sleeping as much as they should during the day, then they're struggling to relax in the evening, and they're becoming very bitey and nippy and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things I suggested was to do this kind of exercise in the evening. So you almost have to kind of teach, some dogs you have to teach to settle. She struggles to settle. This is why I'm working on this with her. Because she's like wired all the time. She doesn't blink. She's got eyes so wide. It's like, what's happening next? I'm just going to take my hand out of the treat pouch because she's waiting for something to happen. I just want her to just relax and settle. So some dogs some dogs easily relax. So Murphy's always been really good at just chilling out, but she struggles. So I'm almost training her to settle by doing this technique. And you can see she's in a much more relaxed state now than she was probably when I first came onto the live. But it does take a bit of time. But after I've done a little session like this, I can pop her in her pen now, and I'll go upstairs for a couple of hours and she'll sleep. But if I didn't do this, she'd be much more agitated, or would struggle to settle, and she'd be crying a little bit, which we don't want. We want her to be nice and relaxed. Good girl. So this is nice. Good girl. Well done. And the other thing, so one of the questions, I think it was Lauren who posted the actual original question about how to get dogs to settle without you being around. One of the things I suggested when you use a Kong is thread a piece of string through your Kong before you stuff it, and then tie it somewhere. So they're more likely to stay in that position. So it's a little technique we use for crate training puppies. When they have the door open to begin with, it's just encouraging them to stay in there a little bit longer. But you could do the same thing if you're struggling to get your dogs to settle and they keep following you around all the time. Then that's quite a nice thing to do. Is just leave them with a Kong in a room, and I mean you could use stair gates and shut them in. But if you wanted to try and get them used to being not following you, you could leave the gateways open, tie a Kong up, and let them have some good stuff while you leave. Good girl. Nice job. Well done. It's a good girl. But even now, her eyes are like this. It's hilarious. I've never known a dog like it. Normally labs are so relaxed and chilled, but she's very different. But she's doing well. She's doing good. So if anyone's got any questions about that, there is, either in the units, I'll check, under general training, there should be couple of things on mat training. There's a thing called Relaxation Protocol by Karen Overalls, which is quite good. And I think there's another one on mat training. And then I have a mat training plan that I use, and that's on an Excel spreadsheet, and that goes through step by steps. I think the one I've posted is around pairing mat work with doorbells. So that's the other thing that's really good with mat training, is that once you've got the mat really well established and there's value in being on the mat, you can then start pairing it with a cue like a doorbell. So doorbell goes, go on the mat. I don't have this problem with my dogs. They're not really bothered about people coming to the door, and to be honest, not many people come to the door these days anyway. It's more for her, it's being able to settle after the end of the walk. But it's something, if you've got an issue with your dog that every time the doorbell goes, they go crazy, then you can do, this is something you can work on, is settling on the mat, or going to the mat when the doorbell goes. If anyone wants any help with that, let me know, because I've got a program that takes you through that. So hopefully that's been useful. She's much more relaxed now, aren't you? Good girlie. Apart from your eyes. Blink, blink. She's blink. Cool. Okay, so that's it for today. I will see you Monday. I will try and be on time on Monday, 8 o'clock on Monday. I'll probably do my 8 o'clock lives on a Monday out and about somewhere with my dogs, because that's quite nice, just to vary things. And then just a reminder that next Wednesday, instead of the live at 6 o'clock, I'm doing a recorded interview with Jeanette Bishop, who's she's a friend of mine, but she's a canine behaviour practitioner or consultant, I think she calls herself. And we're teaming up, we're doing a little sort of session all about basically what, helping your dog through lockdown, because we are seeing, both of us have noticed that we're getting a lot more issues coming forward for dogs that are showing new behaviours that didn't before. And our theory, my belief, and I've seen it in my own dogs, is that it's to do with the change routine. Our stress and anxiety levels are affecting our dogs. Overstimulation because everyone's at home, children being homeschooled, and so we're seeing issues in dogs because of that. But it's also how you can help your dog at the moment get through it, and also how you can prepare them for things going back to normal. And when you go back to work, or you're leaving them for a period of time, it's going to be a struggle for them because they're so used to being around. One of the things I mentioned on my live on Wednesday is that, so this is their routine. This is a bit late actually for her. She would have been in her bed by now. But they go on a morning walk, they come back, they'll probably have a Kong, I'll do some settle work, they go in their beds, and then I go upstairs and leave them for like 2 or 3 hours, so they get a good amount of sleep and rest in the morning. And then in the afternoons it's a bit more difficult because she gets a bit restless with me going back upstairs again. So it's really difficult when we're around all the time, but we've got to try and keep our dogs into a similar routine that they had before, or they're likely to have when we go back to normality, whenever that will be. Good, okay, thanks a lot for joining, and I shall see you on Monday. Thanks a lot.